to say that that our computer systems in the federal government are at risk is not news. We understand that there is this persistent risk out there. This is a risk, by the way, that is shared by the private sector. All of the computer networks at your organizations are also at risk, and you have dedicated professionals that do the same thing.
All right, there is a little bit of a difference here, just to put this in perspective. This is the federal government. These are 4 million plus federal workers. This has been defense establishments, defense contractors, those who want to work in the Defense Department, those who apply for jobs in the government that would have work with the Defense Department. So there is that little detail where it's a little bit different than someone, let's say, hacking me at Fox News and seeing all my Dunkin' Donut orders. But that's just me. Security experts Katie McFarland and Peter Tran say that this has China written all over it, and we should be very, very worried. KT, you're not buying that no need to worry thing, right?
Oh, you know, look, it doesn't give me a lot of comfort to think that not only is the federal government hacked, but the civilian sector is hacked, the entire infrastructure is hacked. This is making me even more nervous. And I've got to tell you, Neil, I filled out those security forms, and if this is hacking of people that goes back potentially to the early 1980s, in other words, the Reagan administration, that's information not just about individuals, but on my security forms, when I had clearances, it was about my family. It was about your spouse. It's about your children. It's about your siblings.
That's true.
In that wide sweep, there's somebody in there that's done something that you don't necessarily want to be made public. That's what makes people vulnerable. And the question is, what are they going to do with this information?
And what's scary, Peter, now we're talking about information that dates back to KT's point, back to the early 80s, before there was formally an internet and Al Gore had invented it. So, yeah, you know, that's a whole different can of worms. And I'm wondering if the Chinese are, in fact, the ones who did this, or were a big part of doing this. What do you think, Peter, they are doing with this?
Well, it's a literal treasure trove of information. So the industry has recognized for quite some time that China and other foreign nations have aggressively gone after data from the West. So when you look at databases like the OPM, we're looking at potential information clearance levels, potentially, duty locations for personnel and their families, to KT's point, and also relative job duty.
Well, you know, my friend,
rank.
we're just having some problem with your audio. I hope we can address that, because it sounds like you're making some good points there. But KT, the big worry that I have just listening to this and listening to the back and forth, and the Chinese saying, hey, Eric Snowden, ring a bell to you Americans, and this back and forth in the middle of this other drama in the South China Sea, where they're building whole military installations on islands they're making, it is getting a little tense to my eyes. What do you think?
Yeah. You know, not only is it getting a little intense, but it's getting in your face. I mean, I was in China a year ago, and I met with some senior Chinese officials. I even gave a speech at the Great Hall of the People, and I asked about, are you hacking us? You know, this is a major concern of most Americans, including the American government. And they denied everything. And they said, oh, no, 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 we would never do that. If anybody's hacking anybody, it's you hacking us. You know, 20 years ago, when China was on the rise, they talked about wanting a peaceful rise. They wanted to rise their economy, improve the lives of their people, but they didn't see anything aggressive about that. Now, if you look at what they've done in the last several years, they're building a blue water navy. As you pointed out, they're islands. I mean, they're really rock piles in the East and South China Sea that the Chinese are converting into islands that they're putting military bases on. They're putting airports on, potentially with military uses, trying to claim that whole Chinese region, the 600 miles of the South China Sea, as their internal Chinese lake. And then when Secretary Carter was just in China last week, the buzz from the Chinese military guys was, hey, America, you're a power on the wane. We're a power on the rise. Obama's a weak president. We're going to take what we can and get it while we can.
Amazing. Katie, I want to thank you. Peter, I want to apologize to you. Unfortunately, we did have problems with your audio. It has nothing to do with you, but I do want to bring you back. So I apologize for that. But both of you, I want to thank you.